Greetings, fellow carbon-based life forms. Welcome back. Making another track in this episode. I think I'm actually going to go back and again kind of revamp an older idea. There was a little kind of chord sequence and riff, and actually the very first episode that I did of this is just kind of intro music. But I like that idea, and I think I can do more with it. So I'm going to talk about kind of the chord progression and the melody I laid down, and then how I'm going to use the Boss LS2 to kind of get a little bit more interesting with the arrangement with the looper again. Yeah, so let's jump into the chords first, and we can just build it up from there. So as with all the pieces I've been doing in this little series, I'm writing this one on top of a set of tape loops that I made in the first episode, which you should be able to hear in the background right now. And those are pretty much all playing the note E. And so one of the challenges I've faced is trying to find ways to get outside playing in the key of E. And this is one take on that. It's a little bit of a wacky chord progression, but it's kind of using E as a different pedal tone against each of the chords. So the first one, I guess I'm thinking of this as like a C sharp minor 11. So the E is the third of that chord. And then it goes up to this, I guess, D7 with the fourth added right on top of the third. So the E is not actually in that chord. It would be like the ninth. So there's a little bit of a rub there, but not too bad. And then we go back to this C sharp minor 11. Then we go up to kind of this F sharp 7 with the 11th added there. Or sorry, probably the fourth is better to call it because it's right next to the third there. But the E is the 7th in that chord, so that sounds pretty cool. And then the last one is kind of this little Lydian walk down idea on E right there in the bass. So that sounds pretty good too, I think. So all together, it sounds like... Sweet. So after I laid down basically the arpeggiated version of that, I turned on this chord swell sound on the Maris LVX and laid down sort of these ambient chords behind the kind of arpeggiated bit there. So I will play those back for you. I've already got them looped, and then I'm gonna add the two melody layers that I kind of harmonized on top of that, and hopefully I can do that in one take here. So here we go. So those were kind of the main guitar loops that I laid down in the original idea. And I think from there, I'm going to use the Boss LS2 here to kind of break up the arrangement a little bit. I have this set so that I can just drop the entire looper in and out of the signal path without having to pause it. So that'll maybe make it a little bit easier to make big shifts and then actually bring it back in. I'll just need to count the right number of bars to know when to bring it back in at the beginning of the phrase again. So if I turn this on, you should hear the looper. And then off, it just drops it out entirely. In the last couple of these episodes, I played something resembling a regular-ish guitar solo. So for this one, I think I'm going to try to use the Red Panda Tensor and get a little bit weird with it. Do some maybe reverse guitar nonsense like that. And I might try to get something patched up on either the modular case or the Matriarch so that I can make some weird synth bloopies in between some weird guitar bloopies. But I'm kind of thinking of it more as like a weird textural interlude between when that loop drops out and when it comes back in. So I'm going to figure out the next idea, and then I will see you guys there. So I'm back. I've got something patched up on the Matriarch that I think is kind of a nice accompaniment to what I was trying to do with the Tensor reverse sound guitar solo thing. By itself, I basically just have the notes to a minor 7 chord punched into the sequencer on the Matriarch here, because that gives me, 3 or 4 different notes I can play on in a given key that are going to sound pretty good. And I have it set pretty fast because I just want, a lot of interesting texture-y stuff bouncing around. And then just to accentuate that, I've got the hologram microcosm and the chroma console going under the desk here. So it sounds kind of like this, just if I play the synth. So now I'm going to try to show you guys how that should integrate with the guitar playing a little bit. Hopefully what I'm going to do is use the left foot switch on the Tensor to kind of freeze a weird reverse phrase. And then from there, I'll be able to play the Matriarch a little bit and kind of alternate back and forth. So here we go. Cool. So it's a wacky sound. Hopefully I can figure out a way to make it fit into the song and sound interesting. So yeah, I'm gonna try to get a decent take of that, and then I'll see you guys when I'm back with the next layer of stuff that I figure out. All right, friends, I'm back. I got through a take of guitar and that first Matriarch thing I wanted to do, and to be honest, that one was pretty hard. It took me the better part of an afternoon to get a take that I felt okay about. But we're gonna move on, and we're gonna do some bass, we're gonna do some modular case, we're gonna do some Matriarch in this layer, I think. So I'm intentionally kind of reusing one of the patches from the last episode because coincidentally this is like also a 5/8 thing. So I'll show you guys that again. You probably recognize this if you saw that episode. And that's just the Mavis playing in E. I've just got like a little 5/8 pattern on the running order right there. And then I'm gonna try to loop a little melody on the Matriarch, kind of like. Something like that. I probably didn't get the rhythm right without hearing the guitar in the background. And then obviously I'm gonna do some bass too. Cool. So I'm gonna get after it, and you guys can see how that fits into the performance at the end. Hey guys. Figured I'd punch back in one more time while I'm sitting at the drum kit and talk a little bit about my approach to that layer. Main thing I wanted to mention is this extra SM57, which is sitting on a music stand next to the kit, and then it's plugged into a mixer, which is then going into a looper. So I can kind of do little percussion loops over here if I just, grab the mic and do that kind of business. And I think I want to try to play some kind of little percussion loop that fits in between the rhythm that the Mavis was already playing, that like 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2. So some kind of interesting cross rhythm. And then I think I may take this mic, not the rest of the drum kit mics, just the looping mic, and run that through like a filter and a delay or a reverb or something, just to get it closer to the timbre of the Mavis, because I think those might sit nicely as like a stereo thing. Yeah, I guess the other thing I wanted to mention is just it's interesting seeing how, making a few of these different pieces back to back, I end up being able to, coincidentally reuse some of the same synth patches, but I almost feel like that's becoming a through line across kind of the whole thing. So just kind of an interesting observation as I've gotten further into the process. So yeah, that's kind of all my thoughts for right now, and let's start jamming.